it's a good stream. It's gonna be a happy little stream. Today, we have a lovely little best of 5 here versus Lanfear, little mainstay Terran player, and Sunlily, our mainstay Zerg player. And it's gonna be an interesting best of 5, I'm pretty sure. IB the N2O. Actually, I think there's a stream delay. Hold on. Yeah, that might be what happens. Let's see here. No, it's not enabled. So it should be up in just a moment. There we go. I see it now. I'm happy. I was nervous for a moment there, because it didn't swap at first. Whew. Alright, so how we all do today, guys? Where are all our happy viewers? So, I'm assuming that the person with the lower MMR to start is going to be the one with the first pick for the map. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty simple. It's just going to be, I'm going to assume that loser just picks what map they want to play on that, or we're just going to do some quick vetoes. It'll be 1 veto per player, because 7 maps in the pool, and it's a best of 5. And then we'll work on it from there. Yeah, because I can only see this through my Twitch. Unless I'm supposed to be doing this on the second stream, but... Pretty sure we good? Yeah. Did my stream turn off? I'm confused. Is my stream turned off again? Nah, it says it's streaming. I'm confused now. Here. Yeah, okay. That's just my Twitch being glitchy because I was watching while I was hosting still. I got nervous for a second there. Lanfear didn't know exactly where it was gonna be for a moment, so whew. Spooky. I'm interested. 8 out of 300 bookmarks used, and I've only bookmarked 7 maps. StarCraft? How it does count. 300's a big cap, though, I don't think. Alright, yeah, so there's gonna be no vetoes for this. So it's basically just loser picks. It'll be slightly faster, and if either player has a map that they know is favorable for their matchup, it would make the games a little bit closer, I suppose. Or if they have any spicy delicioso strategios. let me see if there's anything I need to do before we start up here. Alright, so first map is going to be Port Alexander. I'll just pull that up. As our lovely Artosis would say, guys, get your boats ready. Let's get this going. Okay. Alright, here we go. I'm trying to keep one panel up at a time, or like the one layout instead of, you know, using something like these, because I forget to switch them all the time when I do streaming, and I haven't done a little bit of casting in a little bit, at least not on the streaming end. So. Almost knocked my coffee over because the screen started moving. I'm like, no. Okay, but we're here. Everything's good. This is fine. So spawning at the top left-hand corner as our lovely saffronish color here, burnt sienna. He is Terran. It is Lanfear. And in the bottom right-hand corner, Sunlily didn't do a double extractor trick. Who is this? This isn't Sunlily. Alright, so yellow Zerg, this is Sunlily. Last time I saw Sunlily play, it was just always double extractor trick, then then a 16 hatch, and then the Overlord comes out. I guess it's standardized a little bit since then. But still, that was like a mainstay for a while. I'm mildly shocked. A little bit. But otherwise, doesn't look like anything too spicy is going on here. We got the traditional one racks expand. In the bottom right-hand side of the map, it's just hatch pool. I think the pool came after the gas. I'm gonna say yeah. But either way, it's still pretty standard-oriented build. A CV scout here for Lanfear does, or that is pretty unusual, but Sunlily does have a tendency to be a little bit of a two-base all-in style player, so I can understand the SCV scout, even though Reaper is going to be on the way, just to see if anything nonsensical is going on, and they haven't played in a while, as the chat indicated prior. But yeah, nothing too out of the ordinary going on the Zerg into the map, so CC on the low ground, second depot. Reaper into a Marine. Marine just to ward off any irritating scouting overlords. And then I wouldn't be surprised to see a reactor on this, and then either some Hellions coming out, or I suppose we could see something like a 2-1-1 timing. But traditionally, 4 Hellions with the Reaper is kind of how TVZ openers work. Helps deny creep spread, map control, and slow down a third base a little bit maybe, as the SCV there is also going to help do. We see the Reaper not getting any kills, which is, it's not really expected to anymore. Like, once upon a time, when Reapers were, like, in the heart of the swarm, people would say, like, you need to get 2 or 3 workers in order for this thing to be worthwhile. But at this point, it's just hold back the map control. Builds have refined to the point at which the Reaper isn't really a hassle or a burden on your economy anymore. Because people weren't used to making Reapers once upon a time. That was a weird time. Hated Reapers so much. I wish that they would be required to be built on a tech lab again. They were ruining the game. Alright, well, Sunlily's actually getting third and fourth gas geysers and no third base, which is... It's past the 3-minute mark, so this is where Lanfear might start to get a little concerned about something like this. Because if Zerg's on 2 bases, that generally is not a good sign this late in the game. They're up to no good. So Lanfear doesn't have a third CC on the way yet. I mean, ordinarily there's no third CC until about maybe 4:35 minute mark, something like that, but nothing yet. So we won't die straight away. We do see Reactor Marines with 2 Hellions? Just 2 Hellions, it seems. Alright. Sunlily used to be just known for only making roaches, which is actually not the case right now. But if that were the case, then 4 Hellions don't really do too much against that. So I could understand the swap from 2 Hellions, perhaps. Also, 1 Reaper and 2 Hellions also is good enough to stop map control if you expect to not be able to poke in the drone line on the natural. And since this is such a small ramp, this is like the only way in to harass drones. I can understand why there's only 2 Hellions at the moment. See the starport getting a reactor, and the third CC is actually down at this point. It's about 5 minutes, so relatively standard third timing, but this is a 2-base Spire play, so that actually might be a bit of a detriment to Lanfear here. If he holds, obviously he'll be far ahead, but alright, so this third hatch did get scouted, right? Yeah, it did. From that SCV that was just parked over there since pretty much the beginning of the game. Lanfear's got his natural wall down, so no Lynx will be able to run around in there, but we do see 7 mutas in the production tab. Hello. This creep spread is not very far out yet. It's a pretty low queen oriented play style. I mean, since it was a 2-hatch layer timing play, I'm not surprised that the queen count is pretty low, but that is pretty non-standard right now. Like, most people get like 5 or 6 queens up, and then they try and creep spread the hell out of the map and then work from there. These 2 Vikings actually going to pick off one of the Mutalisks, which makes this push a little bit less strong, and the 7 mutas really, really helps. I don't remember why, but 7 mutas just has a decent damage output on a lot of the units that it's going to be facing against. Does that mean that it can one-shot? I think 5 mutas can one-shot an SCV, but having a couple extra mean that glaives get a little bit of extra bounces in there as well and kill some additional SCVs. So we did see here, decent amount of damage going down so far. Stim is just starting, and it's 6:30, so this is a very, very late timing, which means these mutas are going to have a hell of a good, or just have a ball, and that is combat shields. This will actually burn down. There's no SCVs here on time. Is there? This 5, 4, 3, 2... No, don't stop! No! Aw. Alright, well, Stim is the more important upgrade out of the 2, but combat shields is really, really important to get online at the time, because those extra 10 hit points with medevacs, it maths out to be a lot of extra hit points against the circling muta build. Armor upgrades against Ling Muta are pretty mandatory, and combat shields just providing that those additional hit points really helps out. Now we do see, we got a little bit of a strike going on there. Sunlily is getting a 4th base. These drones are bothering me more than they probably should. They're like organized in a pattern. Like, this guy's looking out, and these guys are like. It's like a cheerleader organized thing. Like, these guys are helping him stay upright. Go, Zerg, go. They're like wiggling their little tails so they're pom-pom fashions. something like that. All right. Well, these mutas are keeping a decent amount of map control. This third CC is not getting moved to its normal location, or well, onto a mineral patch. And high-sec auto-tracking is actually on the way. That's an interesting move. I love high-sec to death, but I generally don't get it if I'm playing bio anyways. I have done it before, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily a good idea. But it will help these auto turrets get a little bit of extra reach. So if there is a mutaball that ends up coming out and the number starts getting out of control, then it will help the turrets get an extra couple shots off on the mutalisks, and that does go a long way in the grand scheme of muta harassment, since they need to run back and heal more so they don't get picked off. Like, it wouldn't have mattered in that situation, but we do see that it could have maybe picked off an extra meter or two. Sunlily was a little bit faster on that reaction time. And it's not something that you expect as a Zerg either, just a high sec at before the 10-minute mark. And I guess these upgrades were a little bit out of sync, so it does help sync out the upgrades. Alright, well, Sunlily is actually picking up a 5th base as well, and considering there's no 4th on the way for Lanfear at all, that's actually a pretty high base count. So, provided that Sunlily doesn't lose any economy anytime soon, that is pretty scary. She's basically been allowed to macro uncontested, and we do see here Lanfear actually does try and deal some damage here, that one lonely Hellbat in the front, along with a couple siege tanks and a hell of a lot of Marines here. They will be able to clean up some creep here, but oh no, they're actually just gonna go straight onto the creep. Yeah, hold on there, Lanfear, bud. Alright, well, he's gonna attack on the creep here. We don't see a whole lot of Banelings here, but the ones that do exist, getting a decent amount of connections off. Lanfear getting a bunch of his Marines bundled into a nice little ball for the Zerglings to surround. And these tanks are still alive, though. And there is still a force of Marines, and the medevacs are still alive, so he can push this creep at the very least. Back a little ways. But no economic damage so far. You see here one of these tanks is in the orange, so that could be picked off fairly easily as well. 4CC just going down for Lanfear. And +2 attack, but no +2 armor on the way. We do... Wow, that's 3 factories. That is a lot of mech production. Alright, well, we do see here in this engagement, the Baneling's actually going off on the tank, so it wasn't ideal. And there is an engagement going off of creep here, so these Banelings actually getting kited fairly well. Like, those were very inefficient engagements for those Banelings, but this does end up getting cleaned up. Overall, one of the medevacs does go down, one is in the red, so unless Lanfear repairs that, that will go down as well. And it's hard to replace medevacs as the bio player, so losing those is never a fun time. That is a lot of... 3 factories is pretty unorthodox, though. I'm curious to see what he's going to plan on doing with this. Like, is he transitioning into mech or something? He doesn't have any upgrades on the way. But his tank count will definitely be pretty high up there. There, alright, so +1... Oh, he has double armory. Alright, so we will see, like, a bit of a transition into a less bio-oriented play. Ling Muto does a pretty good job against Marines and against siege tanks by themselves. So I can kind of understand that, but when there's 3 factories worth of production and a Marine meat shield in the front, Lings don't really get a chance to surround the Marines to begin with. Now we do see Sunlily is coming with the Ling run by, and Lanfear's not ready for this. These are going to get right into the they could get into the main base probably if they wanted to. Lanfear still hasn't reacted to this. Oh no, the 2 tanks getting surrounded here. Oh no, that's really unfortunate. This wall still hasn't been lifted either. Lanfear, where are you, man? No! Well, Sunlily actually not taking advantage of that and going into the main base to do additional damage. Just this SCV is panicking so hard because he can't leave because the turret's walled him in. Alright, well this does eventually get cleaned up. If we look at the workers killed, that was 20 workers killed with a single run by. And there's, oh no, there's even more in the main base. There's so many speedlings. This base is gonna have to get lifted off. Oh no, 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 no. You just see here, oh. How many workers does he even have left? He has 20 workers compared to 80. Mules are not that strong, folks. That's just unfortunate. The 4th base does get landed down at least, but that is... When you're not ahead as a Terran and you get hit like that, it's kind of a death sentence unless like you've got some Miracle Widow Mine hits or something like that, but there's not even Widow Mines here. These tanks aren't really gonna get some magical hits off in the same way that a Widow Mine might be able to get you back into a game. And Lanfear hasn't been doing any drops, mostly because the Mutalisks, there's only 5 mutas, but those 5 mutas have prevented drops more or less. Oh, there we go. Alright. We do need to see something from Lanfear on his end. But, yeah, this is gonna get cleaned up almost immediately. Once it was spotted, those mutas can just come over with the Zerglings and take out the medevac. Oh, and there's also 12 mutas in the production tab. We see Adrenal Glands almost finished, and Ultra Cavern to boot. 3 upgrades on the way as well. Lanfear's +3 attack is going to be done slightly faster, but 3 Adrenalings, they're very hungry boys. Considering what adrenaline actually does to your body, I'm kind of surprised how hungry the Zerglings still are. They actually got more hungry with adrenaline pumping through their veins, apparently. It's a little bizarre. We do see here Lanfear does pick up that engagement fairly handily, so that is good for him. He doesn't lose too much from those lings, and we don't see a whole lot of banelings actually from Sunlily, so yeah, there we go. You definitely need some banelings for these kind of engagements. This 4th base actually should be taken down. Oh, never mind. Alright, the tanks siege up way too far in the front, and now that Adrenal Glands is done, these lings just chew through the Marines like there's no problem. But they do end up getting taken out a little bit, and Sunlily smartly pulling the Mutalisks away, trying to conserve that muta count, and Lanfear is going to have to pick up. But with these mutas here, this is pretty much a death sentence for the rest of this army, and these medevacs will end up dying momentarily. Oh. Best Scarlet impression right there. 1 siege tank. Spidey senses were tingling there. The sense that those treads were on something squishy there. Kind of weird how there's 3 burrowed Zerglings and then 3 burrowed Banelings here, though. It's also kind of weird how I can see this thing's butt, and not the others. But, okay. Moving on. Sunlily's basically carved out her half of the map for herself, and Lanfear's barely been able to even try to get this 4th base online because he's been busy pumping out as many SCVs as he can. This SCV is still just lonely. These gases also not being mined either, and he definitely doesn't really need too much Vespene right now, but he is starting to pump out Thors, and Thors and tanks are pretty expensive in the gas department, so we might want to start throwing some workers back onto these. Alright, well, things are quieting down a little bit more. As I say that, of course, I look at the lings that are coming back into the natural. There's not a whole lot to chew up here, but this still does force Lanfear to move way out of the way. These Marines are so low. Oh my god, where are the medevacs? He's barely had the minerals to even build his medevacs. He's just been constantly, like, throwing Marines out and hoping for the best there. This Thor all by itself does have upgrades. Does have +1 armor, but those are 3 Adrenalings, so they still do quite a number on it. And, wow, a barracks actually is going to start burning down. I don't see any SCVs going to repair that. And 1 more stim from Lanfear. This 4th base actually going to get taken down as well, and there's nothing here for Lanfear. I think Sunlily's going to take this one, no problem. Just Thor trying its hardest, but the upgrades are definitely not in his favor. That Ultras does get taken down, but this 1 medevac has so much work to do. Oh my god. Yeah, you don't want to keep those mutas clumped up. There's only 2 Thors here. Actually, they're both in the red. That's really scary. Jeez. Lanfear is really cornered. He's got less than 30 workers, and Sunlily's been on 80 for like almost like half the game at this point. It feels like for the last like 8 minutes or so, she's been able to just keep producing off of a 6 base economy. There's been 1 medevac worth of harassment over the course of this game, and it didn't do anything, really. It just poked some lings and then promptly flopped over and died. Alright, well, this base is slightly oversaturated, considering the shambles of economy that he's in, or the poor state of economy that he's in. That makes even more of a difference, but yeah, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Sunlily takes game 1. Whoops, I accidentally full screened my Twitch. I don't want to see my own screen 5 seconds in the past. It's not too helpful for me. Alright. So, I'm going to take a quick moment here to pay a little bit of a tribute to one of the sponsors here that is helping pay for some of the fundraising for this event. Let's see, what is the... I don't remember the hotkey for this, so I'm going to have to go to this. Oh, I got it right on the first try. Alright, so this has been our longtime sponsor here. Let me see. Why does it zoom in on the packaging? This is so weird. Bubba Burger, frozen burger joint. It's not really a joint, is it? They make frozen burgers. Many, many great things have been said about them on many a stream on this channel so far. They've got, I think it's 8 flavors for you to select from. And I'm sure that you guys have heard in my cast with Droptimus. He's a fan. He's ate many of these before. I don't have a Target nearby me, and so I haven't seen them nearby, so I haven't gotten the chance to. But if I do see one of these in the store, I have a feeling that I'm gonna have a very nice little belly full of Bubba Burger right there. Still bothers me that this zooms in. There you go. So we'd like to thank them for contributing to this event. Alright. There we go. So let's see what the next map is. Kairos Junction. Melee. Kairos. Oh, I did forget to mention also, by the way, Bubba Burger is the #1 ranked frozen burger in the States, so that's not something that I want to skim over. That is actually something important for me to mention. Alright, both players are ready. Yeah, the power of the drone with a lovely mineral. Oh, that's an artist drone right there. Making a lovely little heart. It's very proud of that. You go, little buddy. Now, Kairos is an interesting map in the sense that it looks almost exactly like Port Alexander. But it does have some key differences that I'll get into in a moment. Just remembered I have to actually do an introduction, you know? It's kind of important. There we go. So, spawning at the top left-hand corner is our Bob the Builder colored Terran player. It is Lanfear. And in the bottom right-hand corner is our, this time red, Zerg. Love the little Carbot star right there. I love it. Little Zergling mouth. Alright. She's red, she's a Zerg, she took game 1 in a pretty convincing fashion. It is Sunlily. And again, nothing too out of the ordinary here, build-wise, so we can just talk about the map now. There is an extra little Reaper cliff here, which means that Port Alexander literally just... This is where you can jump with Reapers on cliffs. It will, at least, one of the only important places where Reapers can cliff jump is right here. Obviously, Kairos with that extra little bit means that you're more inclined to go for a Reaper. Although, Lanfear did go for Reapers before anyways. Or one Reaper, rather. A Reaper Scout and an SCV Scout, which he's doing here again. Very safe style of play. Generally speaking, more information is better. But the SCV Scout's still pretty uncommon because it's not exactly necessary unless you think that the Zerg is going to be really, really aggressive. Sunlily, knowing that that SCV scout's rather uncommon. These guys have quite a past too, by the way. So this is yeah. They've played so many games against each other that I don't think Lanfear just really leaves this to chance anymore. Like, he knows the one game that he SCV scouts, of course it's going to be the one game where he should have SCV scouted, and there's going to be a 12 pool knocking on the door of a low ground command center. It's going to be, like, really, really decidedly unfun. And Lanfear actually is shifting his build. So he does have the Reaper here, but he does go for a 2-1-1. We do see there's no Marine here to try and pressure these Overlords away. And, this is a decent map to do it on. Another difference between Port Alexander and Kairos Junction is that this third base is a lot closer to the main base, or the pocket third rather, which is normally, it can be the fourth base of a lot of Zerg players if they're starting to feel threatened and if they go for something like a Roach style, which Sunlily does tend to do. You could ferry the drop from the main base down to this low ground pocket third and then back up and juggle your Marines in very, very irritating ways. It's also just good to change your style every once in a while. You never know when it might come in handy. Yeah, we do see the tech lab that should be getting stim. And we should see a second reactor going out into this factory along with the starport. Pretty much my bread and butter for bio builds is 2-1-1, so I know this, like, I can see this from a mile away. And just not even seeing that Marine after the Reaper is pretty much a guaranteed tell sign that this is going to be a 2-1-1, as well as obviously the second racks. Now, what happens after the 2-1-1 might be interesting, though, because there are a few things that you can do. Like, if you do enough damage with your Stim Marines on the other side of the field, which isn't too common, but does happen every once in a while, you could opt for a fast third CC. Double NG Bay or even single NG Bay is an option. It's a very, very flexible build. Now, if you don't do a whole lot of damage with these Marines and you end up losing them, then you're extremely far behind. Because you don't really have a proper setup to rebuild everything, and you have zero map control. So it does let the Zerg get very far ahead. But if you play 2-1-1 fairly consistently, you should never lose all of your Marines. Like, if you end up dropping into the main base or something and trying to deal a fair amount of damage, you should pull back, deal with the creep over here, just keep the Zerg busy, not comfortable taking a fast third base. Actually, that is something I should know. Sunlily still hasn't expanded to a third base. And Sunlily's actually doing the same build as last time, with a fast Spire. But against a 2-1-1, I don't know how well these mutas are going to do. If they catch the medevac in the air, then that would be amazing. But otherwise, the high Marine count here is going to be rather irritating to deal with. Alright, we do see Lanfear with a bunker and a bit of a creative wall-off-ish. And suddenly getting a decent amount of map vision around. I'm not sure exactly what she's looking for, per se. Oh, it's probably extra scouting units and Marines and stuff, just to make sure that Lanfear has as little map control as possible. Could have swore you could wall this off with just 4 supply depots, but I digress. I know you can do it on Port Alexander. We obviously saw Lanfear do it last time. On Port, maybe you can't, though. Maybe I'm mistaken. Alright, so we do see the third Rex from Lanfear as well. We don't see combat shields on the way just yet, but we do see a Liberator as the follow-up of choice. So this is probably going to go around and hunt some Overlords. Or Lanfear could use it to support the medevacs and make sure that the Queens don't snipe the medevacs quite as easily. Or he could just send it in the mineral line as a diversion or a follow-up. Could also just be building it because he sees the mutas here. And that's a lot of Mutalisks pretty early on. This is the 6-minute mark, so this is actually a bit of a formidable force here. We do see, oh no. These medevacs getting a decent amount of damage put onto them, but at the same time, this is 16, or there's actually a tank with this, what the hell? I was not expecting that at all. This is really scary now. We do see that the ledge here is getting pretty abused. These Marines don't want to fight head on with this, though. There's a lot of Mutalisks here, and the Queens are here to join the fight, and this just gets absolutely obliterated. Oh, no, Lanfear. No, 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 not like this. Alright, he's miles behind now. The third base is just finished for Sunlily, but at the same time, like, as mentioned prior, like, your combat shields is just finally finishing up. There's only one medevac and a handful of Marines that you have at this point. And we look at the supply count, and it tells the story as well. You do not want to be more than 10 supply behind a Zerg that is on a Ling-oriented build, because one thing about Lings is that they're extremely supply efficient. Oh, sorry, yeah, it is best of 5. That was a miss. I meant to press 5. I pressed 3 by accident. My bad. There will be more after this game. Alright, well, Lanfear does have a little bit of force scraped together for reinforcements, but these mutas are going to be able to just have a field day. They can do whatever they pretty much want, and I mean, he can deal with the Lings no problem, but also these creep, that's a Dropper Lord. Huh. But yeah, Sunlily's very far ahead, and this creep here is so annoying. It only stops like maybe 15 or 20 seconds of that SCV, or of that command center landing, but you have to go back and make sure that it actually lands. And sometimes you just forget to do that, and it causes all sorts of problems because your command center will try and rally to where the SCV rallies are. Your workers. Lanfear actually getting in here, though, undetected completely, and Sunlily was getting very greedy here, double expanding in both directions, and this third base being completely isolated. Or, well, this fourth base is completely isolated now. This third base has been totally uncontested and now taken out. Centrifugal Hooks is very late because of this muta timing, I must note as well. And, actually, this is a very oversaturated base. Sunlily needs to transfer these over to another base. Which is not really possible. Lanfear's seriously overstimming these Marines. If these Lings get a decent surround, they can actually kill these Marines. This hatchery actually going to get targeted down as well, so 2 hatcheries going down after 2 were built. So Lanfear is making sure that he comes back in a little bit of nice fashion here. He does want to pick up these Marines, though. Yeah. So those do get cleaned up. That is a little painful as a Terran player to see that, but yeah, this command center still wasn't landed from that Overlord because of the creep. And it wasn't even turned into an orbital, so there's no mules banking here right now. Does he plan on making a planetary out of this? Does he feel he's... Wow. This is always a very, very... This is like a compliment to the Zerg player if you have to build a third CC in order to be... Or a third base planetary. If you don't feel comfortable, this is what you do. And it puts you massively behind, economically speaking. And the 2-1 is kind of a put you behind economically already. So this is a really... This is a very timid statement Lanfear's making. Oh. Those tanks were a little bit late to siege up there. And splits were okay there from Lanfear, and these Mutalisks weren't exactly in the right position to take advantage of those Marines being vulnerable and injured from those Banelings. So that attack was a little bit of a whiff from Sunlily, kind of. Now this is interesting from Sunlily. After this base got killed and this one got isolated, she's decided to spread out horizontally. So taking this pocket third base, and then taking this as your fourth base. This was actually the fifth base. Or, wait. No, this wasn't taken at all. This was a conscious decision by Sunlily to expand the opposite direction. Mutas here actually getting a lot of kills here so far. Oh my god. See, a total of 11 workers killed so far over the course of this game for Sunlily. Does lose a few mutas, though. You don't want to lose any mutas if possible. 1 or 2 at most. Because those are very expensive units, and they do very poorly in small numbers. Lanfear does have his fourth base finished up, so he is starting to stabilize a little bit on this economy, but oh, these mutas come back, and this turret just wasn't able to quite finish up there. If you look at the worker count, by the way, Lanfear has 50, and Sunlily's pretty much done making drones for the rest of the game, unless some of them die off. At least until very late game, I should say. See this Overlord, not in the best place for creep denial, or well, for landing denial with the creep, but Still annoying. Still good form. There's a handful of SCVs being taken out just by a couple of banelings, and these 3 more will go down. Maybe? No, they're just violently startled. This base does actually have to stick around and wait for some Marines to push the Overlord away. Which is kind of awkward. And we see Burrow, Hive, and 30 Lings, as well as 2-2 about to finish for Sunlily. Like, Sunlily, oh my god, I just looked at the supply. 45 supply difference. There's no denying that Sunlily can pretty much do whatever she wants at this stage of the game. She can build swarm hosts for all she cares, and infestors, and probably still be ahead in this game. That was an okay engagement for Sunlily, especially considering that she's ahead in supply. Even engagements, or even slightly unfavorable engagements, are actually kind of favorable as long as you can close the game out and make sure that you maintain your advantage. And Lanfear is starting to go, like, a little crazy with the CC count here. And, oh no, Sunlily with this massive Ling run by. This wall doesn't go up in time at all. It's actually not even complete from the Mutalisks harassing beforehand. And they won't actually do a ton of economic damage, but it does force the army to pull back, and this command center actually isolated now. With no army to protect it, just a bunch of SCVs desperately trying to keep it alive, and Banlings love to see that. Hello. Oh no, these Banelings too getting on top of the mineral line. We see a total of 35 workers killed so far for Lanfear. He's just not catching a break today. This planetary is also going to go down. And Lanfear will stay alive, and he does have some CCs to replace that planetary with, but that is far from ideal. Definitely not fun as a Terran player to get destroyed. It's not so easy to just replace command centers. I mean, he's rebuilding this planetary. He really wants a planetary there. He's going to try to do some damage across the map here. I mean, Sunlily is expanded horizontally, so this isn't actually going to do too much, because these are fresher bases. So it hurts more to lose these, but there's nothing actually here in the form of, like, economic losses, per se. Just potential losses. You see Lanfear leaving his tanks a little bit exposed on the side here. They get a lot of nice shots off on the Banelings, and there was a Thor here to make sure that they get, or that the mutas are pretty bruised up. And this base actually goes down too. This is a big economic blow to Sunlily. Youch. Supply don't lie though. Right now Sunlily just expanding horizontally still. There's still no knowledge. I mean, he should expect this base to be taken, but he doesn't know about this base. He doesn't know about this base being built. This base is being rebuilt already too, which he probably expects, but doesn't know quite about. No confirmation. These Zerglings gonna get a solid surround on these Marines before they even choose to react. And oh no, Sunlily clumping those those mutas up so hard. But I mean, there's only one Thor here and no Marines to help finish the job. So a lot of these mutas taking a lot of hits, but that's it. The mutas stay alive in their own right. This wall is still exposed. I mean, it's open as well, but, like, these SCVs don't really have anywhere to go. The main is entirely mined out, save for this one gas geyser, and it's going to be mined out in less than a minute. They could be mining gas. I guess it would be something for them to do instead of just piling onto a mineral patch in excess. But, yeah, like, this is so annoying. I remember, like, when I was just learning Terran, after being a Zerg player, just seeing people do this, because it was popular for a while when Scarlet would just research Burrow every single game, and Scarlet was like, Scarlet versus Bomber happened, everybody remembered Burrows a cool upgrade, people tried Baneling mines and Ling Burrows to deny expansions and all sorts of cute things like that. See here, there's actually 2 Lings for some reason. It's really good for map vision, because you need a Raven, or to scan constantly to notice that these things are here. And it's just good to know what's going on across the map like that. It's like little creep tumors that don't give themselves away. This is so many Mutalisks, by the way. Jeez. It's 22 Mutalisks. Lanfear is just finally getting able to restabilize here. He's finally got his 4th base up and running and having saturation on it, but There's ultras on the way, and 3-3 is done, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 3-3 Adrenalings with +2 Vita support. And some Ultralisks as well, because might as well. I mean, they got the cool shiny upgrade. Might as well. The Collector's Edition Ultralisks. Are those the Collector's? No, they're not the Collector's Edition Ultralisks, are they? It's been a while since I built mine, but I have them myself. Not to brag, they're just fun. Alright, well this 4th base wasn't able to stay alive for long. This thing is certainly going to die, and oh my god, the Baneling's making sure that the SCVs go down with it too. Turning them into martyrs. It's one it's one Hellion doing as much as it can, but that's kind of brutal. These are some very brave Marines here. Like, Sunlily could actually take this without bringing everything for reinforcements. I think she just wants this Baneling mine to work really, really well. She wants to force that because it's a really good feeling to get your Baneling mines to connect correctly. I can attest to that, but I mean, this is a sad day for Lanfear here. Greater Spire is almost finished here. We don't see any Corruptors on the map, do we? No Corruptors, but the option will be there. The air superiority is undeniable. The store count has never been allowed to get anywhere close to being out of control. Although they do almost have +3 attack. But yeah, this army just gets absolutely raffle stomps. There's so many mutas. Actually, there's not a whole lot of mutas. But GG anyways. Sunlily takes game 2. Match point has already been reached, guys. Pretty convincing 2 games so far from Sunlily. Like, it hasn't even really been close. It's been pretty one-sided so far. Alright, I'm gonna be right back. I'll leave you guys a little, bit of a, I don't know. I don't have any fun pictures to show you guys. Except for this, I guess. So, have fun enjoying my OBS overlay while I be right back.
Don't you know Bobby Joe? Listen up, sister.
I'm so sorry about that, guys. I know it took a while. I'm here now, though. Alright, so next map is going to be Cyber Forest here. Alright. So, just the second plug here. Another one of our sponsors here. All right, we're gonna put on our cool announcer voice here for this. All right, we need to swig a coffee first. Bring your friends and get your results your way with a free fit plan, studio classes, pools, cardio equipment, 436 locations, network of clubs, all included in your membership of 24-hour fitness. Try us free with a 7-day pass when you complete one of the sponsor quests. So there you go. 24-hour fitness here, helping contribute. All right. Yeah, I got it, Sushi. I did it. I didn't actually see that before, if you did message that before. So, alright. Need that 4th G in there. Cool, alright. We're in here now. That's basically a Dragon Ball Z voice without the smoker element of it. Because I want to make sure that I still have a voice for the next potential few games, but... Okay. I don't know why I turned the music back on, because it was going to finish in a couple seconds anyways. Alright, Control Shift 5. It is a best of 5. So, spawning in the top left corner. He's going to keep spawning in the top left corner, isn't he? In the orange, burnt sienna, Bob the Builder color, whatever you want to call it. Construction worker vests color. He's down 0-2. Let's see what he pulls out of his sleeve here, if he does pull anything special out. It is Lanfear. Into the bottom right-hand corner. Oh, 2-0. Let's see what Sunlily has in mind. Maybe something special. Maybe just the same old bread and butter that's been working so far. Is Sunlily. Hatch first. 1 Rax Expo. Never mind. Nothing too special going on here. Cyberforce being a different map altogether, though, from the style of Kairos and Port Alexander. It is a very small ramp, similar to both of those maps, but it is actually a ramp compared to just a choke point to wall off. So that generally is not too much of good news for, say, a Zerg player, because pushing up this natural gets very difficult for run-bys and whatnot. Like, tanks just sitting here along with Marines makes it very difficult. Now, Lanfear is the one that has shown different... SCV Scout's still there. Lanfear is showing different builds so far this game, making me wonder if... or he's making me wonder if there's something new that he has that we haven't seen yet so far in the series for this game. We do see the Reaper into a Marine. So far, it's similar to Game 1, as well as that expand there. You see the Reaper coming out as well. And Link Speed on the way now. All 3 workers are staying in gas. I honestly was paying more attention to Lanfear because I could read his builds better than I can for Sunlily. It's Reaper not getting any kills here. But yeah, so this could be the same build, but maybe there is something different in mind for Sunlily so far. We'll have to see once 100 gas gets reached here. It's probably just going to be for a layer, again, for another 2-base oriented timing, but it could be for Overlord speed, perhaps. We'll see. Nope, there's the layer. Okay. So Overlord is getting a little bit bullied around. And we are going to see at least 2 Hellions going down here for Lanfear so far. He might choose to make a little bit more than just 2 Reapers, or 2 Hellions and 1 Reaper so far. Or like he did in game 1. Late third again for Sunlily. Lanfear does spot this. I'm pretty sure he's growing accustomed to this at this point if he wasn't already used to it. It's pretty standard for Sunlily not to take a fast third base. Which, it can hurt your economy quite a bit, but the, at least the money is being spent effectively into a force that can, pack quite a punch. Alright, so we do see second and third gases for Sunlily. There's no fourth gas so far. And the third gas isn't being mined from yet. There is 250 gas pooled up so far. We do see 1 Evo chamber going down as well. So it could be something like a +1 Spire timing again, if we do see that Spire going down, which I expect it to be in a moment. There it is. Hello, same place as last time as well. On the other maps. Pretty sure it was in the natural in the other 2 games as well, right? So, Lanfear did end up building a Viking here to send the pesky overlords away. Stim is coming out, as well as a Cloak Banshee this time. So this is a more standard, this is a bit of a classic TVZ push, where you just build like 6 to 8 Hellions, as well as this Reaper here. Sometimes you'll build 2 or 3 Reapers to go with this as well. Then you have 1 or 2 Banshees. If it does get scouted, then you just cancel Cloak. Otherwise, though, having the Cloak Banshees is nice because there won't be appropriate tech for it usually, like Spore Crawlers and an Overseer. There is an Overseer here, but I digress. It can put a lot of pressure onto a player that is on 3 base, but there's no third base here. So all Sunlily really has to do is make sure that the Hellions don't slip by. A Spore Crawler would be really nice here, though, because these Queens will get eventually like bruised up enough by those Hellions if Lanfear did decide to push in. Looks like he's not going to push in at all, though. He made 1 Banshee. It does have Cloak. So that was not cancelled. And there's 8 Mutas on the way right now. So I don't know if this is really a good investment here from Lanfear so far, because this Banshee is going to be able to do virtually nothing, especially since these Mutas are going to be done in just a moment. And there's already an Overseer here just staring down this Banshee. So it's going to get nothing done at all. It scouts the Mutas, but that's nothing too surprising at this stage of this best of 5. And yeah, I mean, we did see 5 Marines able to come out at once here. Now for Lanfear, but there's 1 missile turret here. There's 2 missile turrets at the natural, but the production is pretty exposed. This turret finishes pretty much exactly on time. It could have been picked off, but Sunlily just deciding to try and see where damage could be applied elsewhere. This stim timing is a lot faster, by the way, from Lanfear compared to Game 1, because Game 1 he had a very late stim timing. It was like 6 minutes and 30 seconds when it started. Now it's done by that time, which makes it a lot easier to answer these Mutalisks, especially with the pair of medvacs to heal those Marines out as well. Although Lanfear is kind of using an F2 hotkey here. We see that these Hellions and Siege Tanks are sitting up at the main base as well, and those just kind of get in the way of the Marines trying to chase down these Mutalisks. So generally doesn't help too much to have those sitting in the way, especially since Siege Tanks are so clunky. 1-1 is pretty much done here for Lanfear, which is good, but there is no armory started, so it's going to be a bit of a gap in that upgrade advantage here. And ooh, again, I've been paying too much attention to the Terran side of the map. 1-1 range and roaches out for Sunlily, so this is definitely a shift in technology for the Zerg. See high sec on the way for Lanfear as well. Like, we're not going to see many more mutas being made over the course of this game, so I don't know if the high sec was really going to be doing too much. I don't really think that... Was it 9 mutas? Let's see, 3, 4, 5... Yeah, 9. 9 mutas. This is probably the highest that this number's going to get, at least for this stage of the game. So high sec is not really going to do too much more. to help against those mutas, because they're just going to turn away from the missile turrets no matter what anyways. It doesn't really cover much more to get that high sec. We do see here the armory is almost finished. Right there. Can't center in on the pictures, it's annoying. But, yeah, so he does have siege tanks at least. They're not sieged right now. He really needs to get those set up. And wow, there's so many missile turrets being built everywhere. These Lings do get in, they do a little bit of damage. They do pull this army out of position here, and Sunlily's already poised to attack on the other side. Like, these Ling run-bys have been doing way more than they should have in any right for Lanfear. Just pulling them out of position so that this army can get into a better position while not being detected correctly. Now, at the same time, these tanks are going to do a lot of damage to these Ravagers. There's no Roaches here to tank. They're here now, but yeah, a lot of those Ravagers going down with no real rhyme or reason. Same thing with these mutas. These mutas will get cleaned up. There are no more mutas on the map at this stage, but this Roach Ravager army busting through pretty convincingly. A lot of these actually pretty low on health. I'd say that it was a convincing fight, but Sunlily actually loses all of those units. Oof. That's an oof there, guys. This at command center. Okay, so Lanfear actually does win an engagement in a pretty convincing fashion for the first time in the series, which is really, really nice for him. He can actually breathe a sigh of relief, not worry about being behind right now, and actually just do what he's used to doing. He held off a push. There is another attack here coming from Sunlily, but there's... Oh, actually, all those tanks did get taken out, and where are the rest of them? Does he have any other tanks? There's a second one on the way. Alright, this is going to be a little scary now, actually. I take it back. There's no Marauders here to help tank for this. The siege tanks will try... Or the siege tank will get a couple decent shots off. These Marines are getting very, very close. They need some glasses or something if they need to engage it this close to the rest of the Roaches. That actually is not good to engage that way. Alright, but he does keep this base alive. Sunlily, oddly enough, decided to target the command center with those Roach Biles, which means that the Marines were able to do a lot more damage than they probably should have. And the siege tanks remain completely intact. His base is pretty low, though. You might want to repair this a little bit. Like a worker or two. But, it lives for now. We do see that this is a triple orbital setup. So Lanfear not opting for that planetary is really going to help him out in the long run economically. Especially since he's held off that engagement, and he definitely didn't need a planetary to do that. There's two Vikings, confirming that there's a fourth base over here, and Sunlily's taking a fifth as well. And adding Hydras to the Roach Ball composition. We do see here 4 upgrades. +2 and +1 for Sunlily, and +2 Carapace is halfway done, whereas Lanfear is about to finish 2-2. So he's actually going to be slightly ahead on upgrades. And he's going to try and time it out so that he attacks with this. He's actually attacking a little early. He doesn't want to go in just yet. Oh, no. Alright, well, these siege tanks do end up getting sieged up, but they're kind of in some awkward positions. These Hydras just absolutely melting the Marines, and they get on top of these siege tanks and the medevacs, and these are things that you don't want to be losing right now. 3 more tanks from the reinforcement wave coming up here on the top of the ramp, and Sunlily doesn't want to push into this because it's kind of an unfavorable engagement, but I probably would have honestly kept pushing in. This is a lot of expensive units that would have went down just for a bunch of Hydralisks, and Hydralisks are not cheap by any stretch of the imagination either, but these units are way harder to produce. But, oh, alright, I digress. I don't know if Lanfear really wants to be here anymore. He probably needs to pull back. That's kind of exposing yourself in ways that you really don't want to be. Creep spread for Sunlily is a little spotty. There's nothing in the middle of the map per se, but on the sides at least there's a decent creep highway. These tanks are in a very annoying position to deal with because they are on the high grounds and in some very odd choke points, so the Zerg can't really engage it correctly. So Sunlily does have to be careful here. There's no vision over here for creep, or from creep either, because, I mean, there's no more tumors. And there's some Liberators here to help zone off the engagements. Against the Hydras, this is kind of mediocre, but with the tanks behind them in such a strong position, this makes it a lot better. ordinarily these Liberators would be nice, but not exactly life-saving. But with the position that Lanfear has, this is actually really amazing. You see here these tanks going down on the right side of the map, as well as a fair amount of medevacs. Ravagers getting morphed out of some of the injured Roaches, but I don't know if this is exactly the place that you want to be engaging from anymore. However, the Ravagers do finish. Oh no, those vials going down in the wrong place. The Liberator does end up staying alive. This Queen here will try and pick off the last remaining bits of what's left of that Liberator, but now they're on the high ground, it's hard to see. This one tank is very brave off by itself. Yeah, this is a very annoying place to try and engage, or to defend for Sunlily here. A lot of units dying to try and keep this base alive, but it is still alive nonetheless. That Liberator taking out quite a few workers. We see a total of 7 killed just by that Liberator, almost single-handedly. Or sorry, 10. 10 in total almost. This is so weird. There's a constant back and forth here between all these bases, and this Liberator's trying to make a statement. This is Liberator territory. You cannot go here. Oh, alright, it died anyways. That was an extra 2 workers in total. But yeah, I feel like Lanfear should have pulled back a long time ago, but he still manages to do a ton of damage in this area, because this is basically unable to be counterattacked with the amount of stuff that Sunlily has. And then some units get sidetracked and get kited by these Marines into the siege tank line, and it's pretty difficult to engage this. You do see some Vipers on the way for Sunlily, which will make this a lot easier to deal with, either by pulling in the Liberators or the siege tanks. Just blinding clouds or abducts would work there pretty well. It looks like Sunlily is just going to sacrifice this base, though. Oh no, no Viper. No! That's expensive. Oh, Sunlily is just gonna decide that it's not worth their time to try and defend that 4th base at all, or the other bases, and just go for the throat. These extra barracks are gonna get taken out. These Marine reinforcements are coming back to try and stall this army. It is quite low on HP because of a lot of the tank pot shots that it had taken before. Sunlily has to get out of here. There's not gonna be a good engagement here at all. One blinding cloud on that siege tank does help out a little bit, but doesn't really do too much in the grand scheme of things, except for just take up some Viper energy. These are in range of the tanks. Those Lings are dead. Oh, nope, okay. They are dead, just in a different way. This Overlord creep continuing to be annoying for these expansions. Lanfear actually reaches the point where he just says, alright, fine, I'll just land it far away, and then we'll just mine in the time being, because I can't pay attention to that all at once with this, with the massive amounts of APM it takes in TVZ or ZVT. Either perspective to try and get things done. Planetary does get blinding clouded. I think it's hilarious how the thing is actually bigger than the blinding cloud radius, and it, still gets affected by it. Suddenly does end up taking out that base, though. That was the 4th base. But she's on 4 bases herself, and the main is basically mined out. There's one little drone here working all by his lonesome. Poor guy, he's got no friends nearby, except for whatever leaves the base. There's not even a queen here. Say hello. But if Lanfear has one game that he can try and take off of Sunlily in this tournament, or in this series, this definitely looks like it would be it. Lanfear is basically maxed out versus 150 supply of Sunlily, and a lot of those are in Ravagers, and Roaches and Ravagers fill up supply pretty inefficiently. Oh my god, just that army evaporates. I think, yeah, Sunlily's got to tap out here. Lanfear takes a game. We've got a series. Jeez, 5 minutes supply capped. Well, GG, Lanfear does take that game. So, we're gonna go back to our first sponsor here. So if you guys have been here since the beginning, you'll recognize the same wordings and stuff from before. I'll actually pause this music so I can actually say this a little bit clearer. But I am gonna do it with the cool announcer voice that I just tried. It's gonna be great. You guys are gonna love it. It's gonna be awesome. You guys ready for Dragon Ball Z Lite right here? Actually, we could try with like hardcore Dragon Ball Z, where my voice is gonna die by the end of this. It is a shorter statement. Bubba Burger is the #1 branded frozen burger in the United States. Try all 8 of their burger varieties, as well as all of our other great new additions. Hear that, guys? The #1 branded frozen burger. They've been around with us for a little while, as far as advertising is concerned and sponsorship. So it's been a fun time. We've even got some homebrewed commercials and stuff. A la, what is it, Swaghar? Do we call him 789 or Swaghar now? But he's made a couple homebrewed commercials for them. If you've heard my cast with Your Optimist, I can attest that he's certainly a fan. Okay. Alright, Lanfear already saying ready before I even ask. He's on top of this. Keep forgetting that 4th G. So I guess that was a bit of a brief shout out, but yeah, Bubba Burger, it's available in a lot of major stores or grocery stores and stuff. So if you're very bad at cooking, or if you generally don't like to make your own little hamburger patties, or don't want to pay for the stuff in your grocery store that honestly is pretty overpriced. Beef can be pretty overpriced sometimes if it's not terrible quality. Then Bubba Burger is generally your way to go. Not to mention that you can get it all over the country. So, spawning in the bottom left this time. Still the left position, but not the top left. That'd be weird. Bottom left position as our orange Terran. Finally taking a game back off Sunlily to keep this a series. It is Lanfear. And in the top right-hand corner with another hatch first. Same business as usual, it seems, from Sunlily up here. Oh, wait. It is Sunlily. I kind of spoiled that one, didn't I? You guys didn't know, and then I just went ahead and said it straight away. It's awkward and embarrassing. Is the volume low? I can try and turn it up. Let me see. Is this better? Here, we'll turn it up even more, just in case. There we go. I tried. Let me know if that's better for any of you guys. It might be because, well, actually, I can turn it a little bit up on my microphone itself, but I've heard that doesn't do anything. Alright, SCV Scout. Par for the course so far, but Sunlily's doing the exact same build as prior. I'm generally a bit of a build nerd, so I like to see what's going on from players that have different build styles that are more unpredictable, and Lanfear seems to have multiple builds. Did he poke something? Oh. Okay. It's metallic taste in on Sunlily's creep. It's not okay. Well, I lost totally train of thought about. Oh, right. So I like seeing what Lanfear is doing just because he's mixing up his build orders. That might be why I'm talking about him more. So he does go for Reaper Marine Reactors, so I do expect to see some Hellions out as well. This Reaper being very, very annoying, and will get out alive unless some serious mismicro happens there, but we're good so far. Turn it up more. Okay. We're we're pretty high on the OBS overlay right now for me, so I think I'll leave it at this. But if you guys aren't turning your volume bars up to max right now, then I think we'll call it good. Otherwise, I guess I'll max out my output. But that's strange. I've casted before. Oh wait, I haven't streamed in a while. That's probably why. I think my microphone has moved since then. Because I lost the microphone stand, so I had to awkwardly hang it from the drop ceiling by the wire. So it looks like I've I have like a ghetto boom mic. So it is farther away from my face than it used to be. But it is in the air, which means that it's pretty difficult for me to accidentally hit it. I used to knock mine over the table every once in a while. Wasn't common, but every once in a while it happened. Okay, so this Reaper does stay alive. Didn't get any kills, but it did get pretty annoying and get the scouting information that it needed. Same exact build from Sunlily as we've seen in the 3 previous games, so nothing too exciting to note there, other than that there's a Terran smelly natural. This Evo chamber is actually really far out in the front. Usually you see the Evo chamber somewhere around here. This one's got a little excited. Alright. Well, Sunlily doing the traditional, I like to make my overlords poop all over your third bases. And I've never actually seen this wall off before. This is actually really nice. Oh wait, yes I have. I've seen it with 2 supply depots on the same side, but I haven't seen it separated like that. That's kind of nice. Alright, so these Hellions actually trying to squeeze on through the natural. We do see that there is a big hole there, but at the same time the Lings catch them off guard pretty, or catch them in kind of a nice surround. And these drones are going to join in on the fight, but yeah, Lanfear is not able to capitalize on that. No workers died there, and he lost everything, pretty much. Sorry, 1 worker died. Well, if we look at the resources lost, it's almost twice the amount of resources lost from Lanfear, and he lost all of his map control. So Sunlily is going to be very, very comfortable. Now, granted, those Hellions probably weren't going to be extremely useful now that mutas are out, or will be out in a second. Especially since Lanfear's seen the Spire. So you should know that those Hellions probably weren't going to do too much more over the course of the game because the mutas would eventually sniff them out and catch up to them and destroy them in a very sad way. Well, the mutas wouldn't be sad, but the Hellions would. So I guess he just tried to do as much as he could damage-wise, but it didn't do anything at all, so that's unfortunate. Well, mutas say hello, as they have been. This Viking is going to feel a little bit awkward because it will have a hard time catching overlords out when there are mutas chasing it. This refinery might actually go down, which is kind of annoying for a Terran because they need all the gas that they can get when they're on 2 bases going on to 3. It is still on fire. Still on fire. Alright, there we go. Sunlily double expands behind this. I think normally she's only done 1 base expand, and then like double expands on 4th and 5th base after doing a big push, but this time just doing a double expand after this initial pressure here. I'm assuming because of the map control that she's guaranteed for herself with those Hellions dying. She's like, okay, I guess I can just build some drones, build a 4th base, build more drones there too. Not to mention that these bases are relatively close together. So it's pretty easy to send your Lings to defend all of those, and the mutas to boot. Find it a little interesting that this base was chosen to be taken as a 4th base compared to this base, because as the rule of thumb, taking a pocket 3rd is undesirable, or even a pocket 4th. You'd rather expand in a line as a Zerg player, especially as a Ling-oriented Zerg player. Which is definitely the case through this game. No roaches. Alright, Lanfear is going to go and claim his 3rd base now, officially. It is the 8-minute mark, so it's quite late, but it is down, at least. Vikings are being made right now, which I'm a little confused about, since there are only 2 medevacs out. as well. Now, these Vikings will be able to deal some damage to the Mutalisks, but generally you don't want Vikings when you're trying to deal with mutas, so I'm a little confused as to why he's chosen that, but this is a pretty strong timing here. We see Sunlily's a little bit out of position here, so these tanks do get sieged up, and oh my god, all the Banelings weren't even close. They were still down here, whereas the Lings were way up in the front, and they engaged by themselves. This fourth base getting taken with virtually no contest after that initial push out. There's no Lings here. There's a ton of Banes, but there's nothing to buy them time except for some Mutalisks, and they definitely don't want to be going in first. Alright, these Lings getting rallied together to try and go out for a solid push out. The pre-split is solid, but Lanfear not splitting really until the very last moment here, and oh my god, that was just disgusting. We do see here some reinforcement Marines still alive, and these Vikings actually taking a fair toll onto these Mutalisks. Now that the numbers are smaller, we can actually do a fair amount of damage. One Muta left. Wondering where all his friends went. It's a bit of an interesting transfuse onto the Evo chamber that literally just started producing an upgrade, but I don't know, I feel like Lanfear is kind of overstaying his welcome here. We see a bunch of reinforcement Lings able to clean up the tank and whatever was next to it pretty easily, and these Marines have no health left, and these Medivacs don't have any energy to heal them. So he's gonna have to head home. He still took out this base though, which is very important, especially when you're on 3 bases of Terran. 3-base Terran will almost always beat a 3-base Zerg. Oh, I generally turn the game sounds very low, sorry. I could change that, hold on. Alright, well, hold on. We'll wait for the engagement to subside. Lanfear's overstaying his welcome, even more than he was prior. Was that a Viking? Does he have those rallies across the map? Is that why that happened? I don't know. He's fixed it now, if that was the case. Alright, we'll change the sound now. We don't want 100%, we want like that maybe? Yeah, sorry, I'm just used to having low game sound for one reason or another. Because my music volume is generally pretty high anyways, so I can't hear the sounds very well, so I kind of just... I have the alerts kind of high and nothing else really on. I can hear it on my end, but you guys probably can't hear it very well, I guess, from OBS outputs. So if it still needs to turn up, just let me know. We'll work on this together. Maybe the OBS update messed it up too. There were a couple of recent updates for it. So, supplies are... The supply is very in favor of Sunlily, actually. I was about to say, these guys are kind of stabilizing, and it looks like this game's been more even than the others, but Lanfear overextending in that engagement really cost him supply-wise, and he's still not building extra Medivacs. He's only building 1 right now. I don't think he needs these Vikings, to be honest. We do see here the Mutaball has been rebuilt, but don't you want, like, Liberators against that or something? Maybe I'm mistaken? Did I only move it up 2%? That's embarrassing. I thought it was at 20 and I moved it up to 30. There. Is that better? There. High quality, quiet sounds, I guess. There. Let's call that good. Do you see here some Marines coming up here? This is a very Ling run-by-esque thing that the Marines are doing, so I'm a little confused on that. And they actually caused some Baneling triggers, which is nice. That's a lot of Lings in the production tab. These Mutas, though, are just absolutely tearing everything apart at this natural, though. So many Mutas, oh my god. It's almost, what was it, 18, I think? These are in arrays of 10. 22. Never mind, I got it wrong. Fine. Oh, so these are in stacks of 12. Oh. That's a bit of a problem. That was very much a terrible shoutcast right there. Holy, oh my god. But that's not good. Lanfear really needs that base going, guys. That was his 4th. He just lost like pretty much everything at his natural as well. If we look at the workers tab, 42 to 76. This is what happens when you don't try and pressure the Zerg too much, and you just stick on Marine Tank and Vikings, apparently. Now the Vikings aren't doing anything because the Marines are in high, or the mutas are in high numbers. This is where I really wonder why. Yeah, now he's building Liberators. That makes sense. But yeah, you need this is what happens if you leave a Zerg alone. They just get their worker cap, and then they just keep making stuff, and then they never stop, and then they take over the whole map. And then they become such a headache to deal with. Yeah, that's not very good shoutcasting, I know. That probably seals the deal here. These tanks are still sieged up way behind where they really should be. And these mutas pretty much have free reign over whatever they feel like doing right now. Some bailing mines still. These haven't seen much action over the course of the series, but they've been there for 3 games at least. Oh, those mutas clumping up, but those Liberators don't do nearly enough damage to make that, or to capitalize on that. Sunlily could take this fight with these Marines themselves. These are very brave Marines. There's a smile on my face right now, guys. You have no idea. That was done solely just as a bucket list thing, I think. That was amazing. Okay. Yeah, there's some top keck there. These Liberators trying to do what they can, but I mean, like, he could target down the Ultras, but even without the Ultras, this thing is... Just the Baneling count there is insane. Just, what are you gonna do? Like, these tanks are gonna survive for quite a while, but you've only got 4 Liberators and 4 Marines, 5 Marines. Lanfear is actually pushing on this. I guess this is a bit of a suicide tactic in saying, you know what, alright, these are gonna die anyways, I don't know what to do with them, so you can have them. Here's some scrap to build the rest of your computer with. In case you need anything else. Although that army did kind of dwindle down, so Sunlily's going to need to reinforce here before the final blow can really be delivered, but I mean, like, she's taking half the map, save 1 base, and even the Overlord's getting in on a bit of the action there, getting a little overzealous. I feel like when your planetary is morphing and there's 2 lings that are in your mineral line still dealing damage, and only when you send the army to kill it does it finish immediately after the lings die, so it didn't really matter. Alright. You do see here the tanks sieging up on this base that wasn't even getting mined from. So, it is good that he's taking out this base, but it feels a little futile, because, I mean, just look at this. There's so many siege tanks, and they're not even really going to do anything. He needs these Marines to stay alive. Honestly, he could hemorrhage some of these tanks if he wanted, because he needs these Marines to save against the muta count. That is a lot of tanks. That is something that he's got going for him. But there's 4 Ultras on the way, and 4 Ultralisks will be able to at least divert enough attention from the tanks to let the Banelings and the Lings. I said Banelings and Marines. That'd be a hell of a Zerg combo right there. The Ling Bane army to get on top of these Marines and tanks. Starting to stumble on my words a little bit, aren't they? These Marines are in an interesting spot. Alright. Here comes the main engagement. The Mutalisk's coming in from behind with a little bit of a contingency force of Zerglings, and most of the tanks end up surviving, but there's nothing to save them right now. Muta's here just gonna have a bit of a play date with the siege tanks, although this is kind of like one of those play dates where it's with your 15-year-old brother, and he's really just wants to, I don't know, do it, whatever teenagers do. I wasn't a normal teenager. hang out with some of his real friends instead of dealing with like a 7-year-old little brother or something like that. It hands you an unplugged Xbox controller and tells you to help him in his GTA world. Something like that. That was a very extended analogy for a bunch of tanks that didn't even survive. Like, by the end of the analogy. There's like 10 tanks there or something. I literally had to take like 3 seconds and try and remember what I was making an analogy about. Okay, so Muta Corruptor Ultralisk is basically the army of choice, along with a flood of lings to, you know, it's like the butter of the army composition. Above some drones here. I guess this is the parsley. This is the parsley of the Zerg dish. Doesn't really do anything. It just looks a little more appetizing, I guess. If you put a little bit of drones on top of it. I don't know. The Great Aspire is about to finish, and then these Corruptors actually will be a hell of a lot scarier to the Marines below. There are some Thors here, but there's only 3 of them, and if we look at the upgrades, they've got +2 attack, but they're still kind of squishy. 3/3 and +2 attack in the air are the upgrades of Sunlily, and yeah, alright, well the parsley has been removed from the dish. It's not really a fair analogy, I guess, but whatever. I wonder if this Baneling Mine will actually do anything. I'm curious. That'd be kind of cool. That is a lot of Broodlords, my god. That's 9 Broodlords. Yeah. It's a lot. So, this game has gone far longer than I honestly would have anticipated it to, given that Lanfear got pretty crushed after this 4th base got taken down. But Sunlily not overextending, or trying very hard not to overextend and almost overdoing that. Kind of, but these Broodlords should be able to finish or seal the deal here. The Thors go into their high-impact payload mode, but that means that the Mutas say hello, and the Banelings even get a decent bit of the action there. Marines getting picked up by the medevacs, but now they're just getting dropped on top of the Broodlings that are on top of the tanks that are getting shot at by the tanks. Other tanks. Because of the Broodlings. Alright. Lanfear somehow still has 120 supply to his name. I'm honestly surprised by that. He's still only got 52 workers, but he's scraping enough army together. He has had a 5th base that's more or less been untouched, which is really helping him with these engagements and whatnot. And Sunlily hasn't built an extra base in a very long time. This base actually isn't mining at all. It's kind of strange. Alright, well, we see here Sunlily is basically maxed out on an army. That's about 150 army supply. This Corruptor Broodlord Viper army is ridiculously expensive, and for good reason. This planetary still hasn't been touched, and these missile turrets are actually getting a bunch of kills. I think it's 4 kills. This planetary is 11. That's actually not very much against the Ling army. I don't know. Maybe some of the reasons why I'm not shoutcasting so well here is because I'm very confused by these engagements. I feel like this should be very one-sided for Sunlily at this point, but Lanfear is somehow making all of this work. I feel like this should have ended a long time ago, quite honestly. But, he's still kicking. He's still got a decent amount of stuff. He's somehow still picking off Broodlords, even though these Thors probably should have died a long time ago. Oh my god. I mean, the moment those Thors die, 7 more Broodlords are on the way. Ford ended up surviving that engagement, so we're gonna have double digits of Broodlords here, just swooping on in. And the Viking count is existing once again, which is kind of required to fight against these Broodlords. These Thors are not going to do too much once the Broodlords are in extremely high numbers, because they won't be able to get close enough, really. +1 air upgrades start, guys. He's looking in the long term for this. And Sunlily finally is getting back to building some economy. Some drones are in the production tab once again. Where are these things? Alright. That's a lot of drones and a few mineral patches there. There are currently only 3 mining bases for Sunlily right now. This one is some drones rallied to it, which is nice because they haven't had any. These patches are just free money, basically. Wow. I almost feel like Sunlily checked out a little bit when, like in the middle of this game, like I kind of did. And just expected that she would be able to win these engagements, and Lanfear's still been going strong. And the lack of expansions all over the map, like this was a base for a long time that didn't really get to be utilized too much. This has been a base for a long time, but hasn't really been mined from until now. This is a base that has never been taken, that Lanfear has never been able to get remotely close to. This base has been left alone since these 4 mineral patches have been the only 4 mineral patches. And this base has been untouched even though there's a bunch of idle workers and whatnot, and there hasn't been a whole lot of engagements recently. Now granted, this army is still absolutely horrifying. But Lanfear somehow managed to get 150 supply worth of an army still together to push here. Let me see here. There's a decent amount of Vikings so far. The liberation zones are going down, but these Vikings are fighting the Corruptors and kind of doing okay. These Marines are given a very impossible task of killing all of the Broodlings. The Viper does get 1 abduct off, but that's all that the Vipers do here in this engagement. This mech army is actually starting to pull through. I almost don't know if Lanfear wants these 3-3 upgrades here and just pour them into more mech units, because I don't think he's going to be building too much bio over the course of the future, and I don't know if those 3-3 upgrades really make a difference for him at this point. Oh no, you cannot lose Vikings, man! The comeback train needs you to keep as many Vikings alive as possible. Alright, these Liberators are doing a very good job though. 8 and 6 kills, and a fair amount of those were on some pretty expensive units. Now, Lanfear just needs to go back and repair, and I think he might be able to at least hold on to grab an extra base or two, and he might have a shred of a chance here. Alright, this Ling by... Oh my god, this run by is massive. Lanfear, even if he does raise the wall on the natural, there's a gap in it. Now, this base is entirely mined out. It could just not exist, and minus the mules that would come out of it in the future, it doesn't do much for him. But he does have to clean this up eventually. And that does mean that Sunlily does have a window here to try and push onto this planetary, but where are the Broodlords?
Base is under attack.
They cool. They cool with each other. They chillin'. I get distracted at the worst times. So that planetary goes down again, guys. I'm gonna do a bit of a delayed reaction here. Hold on, let me get into the zone here. Let's do deep breath here. All right. Oh my god, this thing is getting corrupted. That's what it's called, right? Corruption? I can't see. All right. Oh my god, there's corruption going down on the 4th base. There's nothing here for Lanfear, guys. I'm really bad at this reenactment. Oh my god, it goes down. The 4th base once again getting destroyed. Lanfear actually coming in and taking down this base is a pretty big deal, because Sunlily's still not expanded anywhere new, save for that base. That's the newest base. And the supplies are slowly starting to even out. The bank for Sunlily is depleting rather quickly, and the bank of Lanfear is actually starting to catch up to it. I'm pretty surprised, I gotta admit. If we look at the resources lost, just look at this. Lanfear's just managed to hold on, even though he's had some really, really brutal Banelink connects early on in the game. He's still somehow managed, over the grand scheme of things, to keep his mech units alive to the point at which they do a ton of damage to a lot of the Corruptors, Broodlords, and the Zerglings and Banelings of Sunlily. What happened, guys? Alright, well, finally the Zerg army comes in. Lanfear actually starting to get the lead and loses it immediately because he's sieged up in the middle of the map. These Blinding Clouds finally getting some really good connects off, and the Corruptors finally destroying the Viking army. Now, the Broodlords don't exist. They are no more, but there are more Corruptors, and there is a gigantic army on the ground taking care of this planetary. A bunch of the Banelings here chilling by themselves. That's kind of a disaster waiting to happen, but there's nothing to capitalize on those isolated Banelings, so they're going to live fine. Sensor tower confirming that there are indeed units on the map nearby them, despite the fact that he's known that for quite some time. As well as a lot of the dead units around it. SCVs are starting to get pulled off for engagements against Ultralisks and Banelings, guys. This is the state of desperation that Lanfear has come in. But he's come a long way since the 10-minute mark. He's not giving up just yet. He's come close. Sunlily finally getting another expansion down. Still not this base, though. Does she not realize that there are minerals here? There are minerals here, Sunlily. There's room for a base here. Your units are right next to it. Okay, Lanfear being very brave with these units, going very far into creep with a bunch of orange health Marines and 2 medevacs with about 20 health between the two of them. Still somehow survives with most of them. I'm shocked that those Marines are still alive, to be honest. Alright, well, massive link run by coming up to the top left base. This command center is being built on location, which, to be honest, feels very, very risky. Unnecessarily risky to me. But, and this is why I would say that, is because these links come up here right when it's about to finish, mind you. It does get canceled, but Lanfear is starving for minerals at this point. He's got like 1 mineral patch that he can mine from out of all of the bases that he still has, or save for this base, which is almost mined out too. And the production tab is kind of showing the lack of economy that these players still have. Sunlily literally just building 1 Viper at this point. But Lanfear is like producing early game amounts of units. Like this looks like a production tab of like the 2-minute mark. Minus that 4 Marauders at the end. That's definitely not a 2-minute mark build by any stretch of the imagination. Unless you're like rough or something, or QXC back in the days, like just some outlandish strategy of some kind. Oh my God, Sunlily, please expand here, please, for the love of Zerg, for the love of casting. Just has some very unruly drones. There's 2 that just want to hang out with their buddies over here, even though they're not working. These are those government-mandated extra, like, garbage workers that have to sit in the garbage truck with, like, due to state labor laws. And they're union-protected jobs, but they're not necessarily required, so then, like, the other 2 people have to do all the work, and then there's just that one guy that sits on his hands and says, "Good job, guys. You did good." Not trying to harp on unions in general. They do have their strong points and whatnot, but sometimes the extra jobs that they force in cause some interesting problems. I'm getting political here. That's going to be a very big issue. We're gonna steer way away from that and talk about these lovely Ultralisks here. If we look at the units lost tab, or the resources lost tab, still 10,000 or over 8,000 units almost in Lanfear's favor here. He still only has 1. Alright, he has 2 medevacs now. These Corruptors. Oh no, you could not lose this base, dude. You need to keep that alive. Oh no. Alright, well, Lanfear's gonna lose another base. It eventually is gonna. Alright. Oh, I see what happened. Somebody left the hairdryer on. That's why it exploded. Okay, well, after one final huge engagement, Sunlily does manage to close the game out, but that scared me for a little bit, guys. I thought we were going to have to go to a game 5 there. Lanfear managed to make a monumental comeback in some way, shape, or form eventually. But it does end up that it was not meant to be. Lanfear in the end does get crushed. Once and for all. Yeah, it was a 33-minute game. And there were still a couple bases that weren't mined from at all. Okay, so before we go, before I let you guys off, I do have one thing that I need to show you. From our secondary sponsor that I forgot to mention is 24-Hour Fitness when I started going into the Dragon Ball Z voice, which was kind of awkward. So, I'm going to throw on display capture here, put on the full screen. You guys can see this, right? Yeah. And, yeah, enjoy, guys. Alright, so, once again, just for all you guys out there, 24-Hour Fitness, they're doing a free fit plan right now. They got studio classes, pools, cardio equipment, over 400 locations, network of clubs, all included with the membership that you get with them. You get a 7-day pass that you can try for free if you complete one of the sponsor quests that they host. And yeah, they're contributing a fair amount of money towards our Matcherino donations here. And they helped, in part, move the prize pool up to triple digits here. Or, well, the fundraising, I should say, rather. So, congrats to Sunlily winning the game 3-1 in the grand scheme of things. I've been N2O. This is the Alpha X StarCraft 2 channel. I did see at least one person did resubscribe over... or did they resubscribe? They at least subscribed. I don't know if they resubscribed. So, welcome to you, sir. Or ma'am. Or person. Welcome, StarCraft fan. And, that'd be it for the cast for me today. Hope to see you all guys in the next events that are up and coming. And I hope you do come back and enjoy the rest of this. Okay, bye, guys. Bye.